Good morning. This is going to be your forecast for Morris, Minnesota and Rose City, Minnesota. And let me just say that it's been a very chaotic week. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do the forecast this week, but I know I need to be consistent with this, so I just made some time this morning. So we're kind of in a very interesting pattern. It makes my job a lot easier, right? But so we have what's called a Rex block, which is this area of kind of clear air there. Notice how when weather comes, it tends to come in like an arcing direction like that. That's because over this area here, there's what's called a blocking pattern. And so what's happening right here is there's a low that's forcing air up and down. And as it forces air up and down, it's basically going to dictate our weather until that dissipates. So starting out on Monday here, you can see there is some localized upper forcing over here with this higher winds aloft, but I don't think that's going to be very much. It might lead to a little bit of snow for well, I don't think there's enough moisture for that, which we'll talk about that in a second. But you do see this very, like, typically you would see this and you would get very scared. Like, this is very intense forcing. However, I'll show you the moisture patterns in a second. So I would not be too worried about this. And so this is getting into Wednesday. Like, granted, there could be like ambient snow or like maybe a little bit of snowfall, but not like a lot. Going into Thursday, similar thing, right? Still in that divergence area. We could definitely see some flurries, but nothing too crazy. Friday looks kind of calm. This here could develop into a shortwave trough right here. Notice at that axis, but that'd probably stay towards more southern Minnesota. That could shift though. And then into Saturday, more higher upper level winds. That could definitely bring some precipitation with that. And I also want to point out that notice this arching pattern begins to fade, right, towards like Saturday, and you get more of this zonal flow. That's more characteristic of this time of year. So after this week, you likely will get more characteristic weather patterns for this time of year and less of these anomalies. So this is into Saturdays when that pattern breaks down. And then into Sunday, you see another like very small trough. We're in the convergence zone. I wouldn't expect too much with that. Again, maybe some flurries. It's that time of year. I'm actually going to take a detour because I kind of want to show you something. So this is your dew point map. So this is your absolute moisture in the atmosphere. This is really useful for differentiating different types of air masses, and also really useful for showing where you have available energy to actually sustain storm systems, or in our case, blizzards and things like that. So this here is what's called our Arctic air up there, and generally when you're in this area, very little happens because you have very, very low dew points. There's just not enough moisture in the air, right? And I want you to notice what happens over the week. So this is into Monday. We start getting this really dry air start pooling along the Canadian border north of North Dakota. And notice into Tuesday that really starts building in. So, and this is happening right as that upper level wind is coming over us. So very strong forcing, but associated with that is just very low dew points. So that's actually going to choke out, like typically you would expect probably blizzard conditions, but there's no moisture. It's just not there. And of course, that moisture is all to do with this Rex block right here, right? Because you have this moist air over the ocean. If it's being forced up and around, what's happening is that moisture is being squeezed out over here, and as it gets and arcs around as it's coming down, you don't have any moisture left over. So this Rex block's actually almost protecting us from weather events. So this is in the Wednesday. Yeah, dew points like negative 10, 11. So like just really, really dry air. And that's Wednesday. And then Thursday gets even drier. And then Friday, you notice that with that Rex pattern falling apart, we do start to see moisture air. Like almost, it correlates almost exactly. Like notice how you get this band of high moisture as that starts to flow from the east coast. Yeah, almost as soon as that pattern fades, you get very normal characteristic air mass. And then maybe this is probably just an Arctic plunge or so, but yeah, so that's kind of what you're why there's probably not going to be that much snowfall for the next week is just this Rex pattern down here. So looking at your surface, you're going to notice that there is this storm, but notice that it's going to track north. It's an Alberta Clipper, so it's just going to kind of track like that. So don't expect too much snowfall with that. And it's going to track north because it's going to feed on that high moisture relative to the Great Lakes right here. So it's not probably not going to come down like that at all, just because there's not energy for it. You'll notice so maybe a little bit of flurries with that on Monday. Then Tuesday, maybe some flurries, and that goes back to our patterns observed earlier. So you'll notice we're kind of at the axes of that trough there. That's going to give some ambient forcing. So just flurries, nothing much. And that some more, a little bit of snow. This is that system Friday, so that's. Yeah, so that's kind of this system here moving its way through. It's going to give a lot of vorticity advection, which is going to increase your upper level forcings. But notice that doesn't actually translate to that much snow, which, granted, in a situation like that, you would expect blizzard conditions, but just because of this Rex block down here, there's just not going to be moisture for that. So it's going to wring out all the moisture that's there, but it's not going to be that much. And that extends kind of into Saturday, a little bit of flurries, into Sunday, maybe a little bit more flurries. So your precipitation over the next over the next week, you're really only looking at maybe like 2 to 3 inches. And for the upper level synoptic patterns, that is wild, right? If you just showed me the synoptic patterns without the moisture, I would probably say we'd be in the neighborhood of 12, 18 inches, like very strong upper level forcing, but there's just no moisture in this atmosphere. And when you look at the ensembles, that really shows that, because you have a couple that say maybe we'll get, like this one right here, maybe we'll get like 4 or 5 inches. But given the synoptic environment, that is wild to see that. It's really just all comes down to that there's just not enough moisture in the atmosphere, and it's really a function of how much snow we're going to get. It's really going to be a function of how much moisture advection we can get from the Gulf of Mexico, because that's really the only way that we get any moisture at this point. So this, and associated with that northerly flow, of course, is going to generally be colder weather. So this is, again, on Sunday, so today, and you have this nice low coming through. That's going to usher in some colder temperatures from the north. So your nice, lovely 30s and 40s of today is going to give way to maybe like the 20s on Monday. And then Tuesday, you can see that Arctic air mass is starting to bulge behind that. And yeah, Thursday, expect very, very cold temperatures Thursday, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. Then Friday, it warms a little bit, but not too much. Saturday, still cold, but not as cold as Thursday. So just watch out for Thursday. That's going to be the real what's really cold this week. So this is going to be for Rose City, and starting out, of course, 37 degrees for high, maybe like 39. And that's just because we're in that warm sector of that low. As that low moves on, your temperatures are going to start to level off. So maybe like a high of 30 tomorrow, and then that low is going to be more like 16, so like a 15-degree drop in temperatures. Then that's going to rise a little bit on Tuesday, December 10th, to maybe like 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Then drop again with that air mass change Wednesday, and typically you would expect a lot of snow with this, but you're just not seeing that because the dew points again are so low. Like the dew point is -12, so that's very, very cold, and of course your temperatures are going to be probably a low of -6 and a high of like 9 degrees starting that out. Then Thursday, of course, you're going to be like -7-ish. So most of the cold air is going to be overnight, of course. Then you'll warm a little bit to a lovely 3 degrees at 2 o'clock. Then at midnight, get to around like 7.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And with this air mass shift, you get a little bit higher dew points. And notice with that higher dew points, that's where you're going to have your slight chance for more increased snow. Wind conditions, this is kind of interesting. Really windy conditions Monday, but it's just not cold enough to really cause any wind chill issues. Tuesday, winds are going to remain mostly calm. Wednesday, a little bit more elevated winds, so that will be a bit more significant in cooling down temperatures on Wednesday. But overall, Wednesday is going to be cold already, so that'll likely enhance. And then Thursday, you'll notice that a high pressure comes through, so you'll actually have like dead calm mid Thursday. But yeah, early Thursday is likely going to be brutal just because of the intense winds, and then of course elevated winds as we're going into Friday. And then more elevated winds. Oh, really high winds on Saturday, actually. Really high winds, uncharacteristic for this time of year. And then high winds Sunday. So yeah, with Saturday, that's likely with this very strong warm front, that's very strong warm air advection. So expect flurries associated with that just because you have that isentropic lifting. So this is going to be for down by Morris, which is a little bit more south, so it's going to be more in the track with the upper level forcing. So they're probably going to get more snow. Alrighty, so starting again on Sunday, going to get up to a high of around 40 degrees, and temperature profile is going to remain mostly stagnant. The low is going to be this morning at 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Then that warm temperature continues, slowly leveling off down to 21 degrees Fahrenheit Monday night, and into Tuesday, you're looking at your temperatures going to increase up to 20 and then decrease again down to like 15 degrees. And then Wednesday, kind of just a cold front moving through the area, so your temperature profile is going to be falling. So your high temperature is going to be 14.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's going to fall down to -2, so like a 16-degree difference in a day. So fairly significant. And again, Wednesday, likely higher winds, so that's going to make it feel much colder. Thursday, saying more like -4. And keep in mind, for Wednesday, Thursday, I actually expect temperatures will likely be colder. Just because when you have these very, very intense Arctic air events. And so here's kind of what I'm going to show you what I mean, is this could easily shift south. And I'm honestly wondering whether it will shift south, so like over in Otter Tail, so by like Rose City, you got like -8, and yeah, when you get down to Morris, it's more like -4. But that potential for that to shift southward is very high, and I wonder if that will. So just be ready for that very cold temperatures Wednesday, Thursday. So here's Morris, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with that warm front. Notice that there's a very large jump in dew point for Morris, so that's why they're like you're gonna go from dew point from -9 to like 6, so fairly large dew points considering the temperature. And of course, with the very intense lifting motions in the synoptic environments, I expect that will bring some snowfall. That'll bring your high temperature up to 26 degrees from like -4 the day before, so very intense warm front. Then Saturday, you move into another warm sector, so going from 14.4 degrees, rising up to 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Then mostly remaining stagnant Sunday, getting down to like 22, and getting up to 32.7. So your snow totals, you're going to get some flurries with that lifting motions throughout the week, but again, dew points just don't support much snow. Thursday, Friday is going to be a little bit more interesting. It's saying really only like 1.5 inches of snow, but that could also be more. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. I actually wonder if that's going to be more like 3-ish inches. Wind profile is very similar to Rose City. Wind gusts, very gusty Monday, fairly quiet Sunday, fairly quiet Tuesday, getting a little bit higher on Wednesday, and associated with that is going to be that lower wind chill temperatures throughout Wednesday, Thursday. So again, just be ready for that on Wednesday, Thursday. Very cold temperatures. It's going to feel really cold. Then on Thursday, you get that near dead calm with that high pressure system moving through. So it's mostly going to be a wind chill threat for like Wednesday afternoon, well, all of Wednesday, honestly, into Thursday morning. Then Friday, with those warmer temperatures, the wind's not going to be as much of an issue. And then very intense winds Saturday. And so this is kind of a, depending on how much snow you guys get, this could lead to, I don't think you'll get enough snow, but it will be very, very windy. So this could definitely cause blizzard conditions if there's enough snow on the ground, which I don't think there will be, but that is something to watch out for. Over this week, if you get a lot of snow, be ready for blizzard conditions Saturday. But at this moment, I don't think that there's going to be snow on the ground at that point. Then Sunday, wind speeds level off. So yeah, that's going to be your weather forecast for this next week. Thank you for watching. And of course, I will be doing this every week. I do my best to do that. So just thanks for watching.